Shaskawasakwe Nindishnakas, Nimki Nindotum, Traverse City Nindonjaba, Water Protectors Legal Collective Nindonjaba, San Felipe Pueblo Nindonjaba. I'm Holly Bird. They also call me Blue Lightning Woman. I'm from San Felipe Pueblo, but I live in Traverse City, and I was a civil ground coordinator for the Water Protector Legal Collective at Standing Rock, and now I'm on their board. And yes. And I'm just so thankful for these chairs, actually. They're really comfortable. So miigwech. You know, the one thing I want to talk about is, you know, we all have our reasons for being here. We all have stories about how water is being affected, about how our families are being affected, everything around us. And sometimes it's harder to find solutions. And some of the things that I look at, of course, are, you know, what I was asked to speak about Indigenous rights in water. And I've long said that, you know, if you support your tribal people in the area, they will make sure you have clean water. And they'll make sure that the water is taken care of. Our people have always regarded water as having a natural right. Water is life. We have a relationship with the water that we feel that we're subservient to, not the other way around. So there's a big difference in the way that we view it as a relationship, not even a partnership. We view it as water can live without us, right? So we can't live without the water. And so it's our duty to maintain that relationship in a respectful way. And of course, we're all violating that constantly every day. So that's something we can all work on, of course. But the big question here is about privatization and corporate takeover of water. We see this all over the place, all over the world. Tribes are also fighting it constantly. Here in Michigan, we have tribes that have the rights to the Great Lakes, fishing rights, foraging rights, et cetera, and one of the untested fields, or what I believe is fairly untested, is the groundwater. And some of these areas, and Nestle has been very good about picking out areas that are untouched by some of the treaties. Some of these areas could be fully litigated, in my opinion. And so that's one thing we look at. Part of what we don't have, and this is where we have a problem with Line 5 and the tunnel, is that our rights don't extend to what's underneath the ground, as in underneath the bedrock. And that's by treaty, of course. And the reason is because we could never conceive of the idea that anyone would want to do that. It's within our ancient beliefs that really we're not supposed to dig, you know, beyond a hand width into the ground, because we have agreements with the spirits that live there. And so trying to dig within the bedrock under the lakes is just something we had never anticipated within our treaties. So what do we do about that? You know, how do we deal with that? One of the things that I wanted to give, because we have litigation all over the place. We have tribes that have filed suit in California, in Palm Springs, in arguably one of the richest suburbs in the United States. One of the tribes there sued for their water rights under treaty. And everybody kind of laughed at them because they're like, oh, you know, who do you guys think you are? And what they had done is, you know, a bunch of wealthy people had moved out there and built golf courses and resorts, and were essentially, you know, bleeding the earth dry of that watershed. And the tribe sued and said, look, we deserve a right. This is by treaty our land. And, you know, we can either take it from you, or we can work with you. So what they did is they added them as an interested party into the welfare of that watershed. And then once they did that, they sued them for not managing it properly. So the people of Palm Springs are now enjoying the benefits of that litigation. We also have litigation, for example, in the Northwest. There's been an alliance of tribes that are fighting corporate takeover and privatization. There's been tribes, usually in the areas where water is more scarce than here. There's a lot of fights. And I was really thinking about this question last year. I was invited to speak at a conference, essentially of wealthy people, and this was by like the Rockefeller Foundation, to people who were looking at ways of investing their money in a good way, like for the social good, for the environmental good. And I thought, oh great, I'll be able to talk to some of them. And I performed a really small water ceremony. I talked about the sacredness of water, and kind of did my spiel, my pitch, if you will. And right afterwards, a guy comes up to me and goes, so, you guys should really just be buying the water rights, like the Apaches, where some of your people are from. They really need to exercise their right to the water rights. And I said, okay. And he said, because they could make so much money off of it. And I said, well, I kind of think you missed my point. Like the whole point is that the water is sacred. Nobody should have rights to it in that way. The water should have its own right. And which means that we all watch out for it, take care of it, and take care of it appropriately, so everybody and everything, because it's not just us on this earth, can use that in a respectful way. And he said, so are you telling me you disagree with your tribe? And I said, well, yeah. if it's all the tribe that says that, then yes, I'll say I disagree with my whole tribe. And I said, but more than likely, if you're saying there's a few people that support that on council, then it's probably just them. And he just couldn't fathom the idea that we might disagree with him on making money off of water. So the way that I look at that is I look at some of my sisters that are going across the globe and talking to banks and governments about divesting from the oil pipelines. And they've been very successful. Very successful. There's been a number of banks that have divested. And that's actually affecting tar sands greatly right now. They're experiencing lots of shutdowns and delays. Everything from the tar sands to the XXL pipeline. We have to do the same thing with water. We should be encouraging everyone not to buy bottled water. We should be encouraging everyone to show up and let them know that it's not acceptable anymore. Everybody we know. I had to do this to my mom. Like, Mom, you can't buy those little bottled waters anymore. I'm sorry. She was so sad, but I was like, no, you just can't. So, and we need to convince our legislators to also divest, because we know that Nestle has a lot of support in our government.